Oh, hi. Well, Katie here again. Today I'd like to review I'd like to do another reaction video. It's Stephen Crowder, who's a right-wing American political commentator, probably not so well known over here in the UK, but this is his reaction video about a trans woman on a dating program. And as you can imagine, like, it's very, very well. I'll just let you see what it's like. It's not good, in my opinion.
I don't even think the most progressive of the most progressive watches this and goes, that is passable as a woman, and she's gorgeous. Let me ask you this. Before I get into this, spoiler alert, pansexual blind date, pansexual blind date, because it's trending all over Twitter for Valentine's Day. A lot of people say out there is no normal. You just do you. Let me ask you this. I want to see your comments. Do you believe there is a normal? Because I know we
Well, actually, no. I don't think there is a normal. I mean, we're all individuals. I mean, we're all individual human beings. That's the kind of essential sort of aspect of what makes us human. And I think the normal, inverted commas, that Mr. Crowder is thinking of in his mind is like some kind of retro 1950s cishet sort of male and female, and that sort of thing, the kind of old like image of the nuclear family. And I think that was only ever a myth anyway. It was just in those days there were plenty of LGBTQ plus people around, and plenty of people also with various sort of sexual and gender sort of differences, and variety. And there was more of a variety of different people, but it was always sort of like swept under the carpet. And obviously as well, it was illegal to be gay, and it was illegal to be trans, and to cross-dress, and to sort of just sort of, so many things were illegal in those days and taboo. But now we're much more open, and we're actually seeing what society is really like, and actually what society has always been like. So no, but he's using this normal sort of he's introducing the video by talking about normality, because he wants to sort of argue that being trans isn't normal. And yeah, so this kind of shows you where this is going right from the start.
sort of try to break down normal barriers or social norms for a while because kids were being bullied. And it was like, listen, you don't have to be a jock. Yeah, I understand that. But is there fundamentally a normal at the end of the day? I think there is a normal. And I like it. The same theme, by the way, is what carries people. I mean, the progressive line just keeps getting pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed, to the point, this was a story all year, that you're transphobic if you don't date trans people, right? That's something even Blair White.
Well, actually, if you're going out with somebody who's trans and you ditch them as soon as you find out they're trans, there's a good sort of chance that you actually are transphobic. I mean, I can understand somebody who only wants to have sex with a woman with a vagina, or one who wants to have sex with a man with a penis, But I mean, trans people often have these as well, after surgery and stuff. And, there are like stuff like sort of, I think, phalloplasties, and also like gender confirmation surgery, like bottom surgery. So, I mean, if you still dump somebody after that for being trans, then there's a good chance you are transphobic. And often, like, cishet guys will say, oh, well, I just want somebody to start a family with. I'm not transphobic. And she couldn't, birth children, and I couldn't have children with the trans man if it's like a sort of, woman in a relationship. And I mean, if like a woman or man who says that, to their trans partner, is kind of really not, I mean, to any partner really, they're not kind of valuing that person as a human being. It's not real love. It's about them kind of perpetuating their legacy. And so, yeah, so that's kind of a bad starting point for a relationship anyway, to want to have children with somebody in a way, and that like solely as being the thing that the only reason why you want a relationship. So yeah.
was talking about. We've seen this all year long, which leads us to today's top trend on Twitter for half the day.
Yeah,
let's just go. This is the trans pansexual
nightmare.
Beautiful heart, brave and.
You can see right from the start they're sniggering, and one of the other presenters says nightmare, you know, as if to have a date with a trans woman is a nightmare. So yeah, and you can see where this is going. You can, you know.
Courageous story. Go.
Life is a journey. Some follow their own path, regardless of the consequences. Meet David.
I definitely have more challenges than probably your average person. People on the street staring, shouting.
They're just giggling like naughty, immature schoolboys, you know, and it's kind of pathetic, especially in this day and age when there's more information about being trans and stuff. It's just embarrassing, really.
How funny would it have been if he just walked that electric door?
There's a lot of people who
just close.
No, actually, it wouldn't have been funny if somebody injures themselves. Why would that be funny? You know, or does it only become funny if the person who has an injury is trans, you know, or has an accident is trans? No, it's not funny.
Closed on him, but on his like get smart.
Have someone hate you for no reason.
Yeah, there's a reason. Yeah.
Hi. How
are you?
Pleasure to have you.
Good, thank you.
Your name, please?
David.
Pleasure to have you, David. How is it?
At least go by like Davey.
Yeah.
A little feminine.
But everybody, yeah, when they walk in,
Yeah.
Don't worry, be yourself. And
Feeling
relax,
nervous.
You're right, thank you.
I mean, it's pathetic the way they're behaving towards this woman. You know, she's not doing anyone any harm. She's just trying to live her life. And they're just pulling her apart and laughing at her, you know, and I presume they would do this to a trans woman in the street as well. You know, it's kind of like low kind of knuckle dragging transphobia. They're not even trying to pretend to be gender critical or anything. This is just old fashioned, pathetic transphobia from guys who, you know, they probably would never be able to, you know, sort of date a woman like her anyway, because I mean I would imagine she's far too nice for them, but they're acting as if, you know, she's their inferior. You know, it's just pathetic.
What would you change about your life if you could change
Suicidal.
something, one thing?
I changed society. I know a lot of people would expect me to say that I changed the fact that I was born.
Well, what's wrong with changing society? You know, when you've got idiots like these couple of guys laughing at her and pulling her apart, you know, and not even giving her a chance to actually sort of, you know, be herself and to speak and to just, you know, I think we need to move away from a society that judges people for being trans or judges people for being female or male. You know, I think we need to kind of like move towards a society that looks at the individual. But hey, you know, that's just me. Maybe that makes me a pinko liberal, but hey, whatever.
That's right. It's
male,
us that's the
but
problem.
I
That's
think
right.
the problem doesn't start with you as an individual. I think everyone has the right to be who they are. But I would change the way people look at me.
It's never me. I'd change society. It's like asking. It's like asking a schizophrenic. Well, what would you change? Would you change the demon?
Again, we see he's brought in schizophrenia here. I mean, this is a common sort of thing with the alt-right, and also TERFs as well, and elements of the transphobic left. They try and suggest that being trans is a mental illness when it's not. You know, I mean, is being cis a mental illness? No. But gender dysphoria is a mental illness, and the only way to kind of stop gender dysphoria really, or to cure gender dysphoria, is to transition, you know, or come out as trans, and that can mean being sort of you know, transitioning medically, or it can mean transitioning socially, or coming out as trans. I mean, every transition is different. And so, yeah, I mean, but they're trying to say that actually being trans itself is a mental illness, and actually it's not. I mean, she seems completely well-adjusted, that woman. And I mean, she just, like, these guys here are the ones who seem like they have sort of psychiatric issues when it comes to trans women, you know, and particularly they seem very immature as well.
Demons clawing at your testicle? No, that's the world. Yeah. I mean, everyone has the right to be who they are. What about old school Bob? What? Okay, what about pedophiles?
Yeah.
What about
Again, I mean, this is another transphobic trope. Transphobes trying to conflate being trans with being a paedophile, or being gay with being a paedophile, as it was kind of like about 30 years ago. They would be trying to get away with that, trying to actually suggest that gay people are predisposed to paedophilia and children not safe with gay people. And now transphobes are doing exactly the same to trans women, and trans people. They're trying to say that if somebody is trans, they're like a dangerous sex predator, and it's just absolute rubbish. There's no evidence at all to suggest that there's more likelihood of somebody being a sex predator or a paedophile if they're trans than there is if they're cis. In fact, it's mostly cis people who are sex predators and paedophiles, and mostly cis het guys, like their demographic there, the sort of males. So yeah.
I don't know, people who like to harm them. What about people who like to harm themselves? I know, because we have suicide laws, we have self-harm laws. We put people.
But trans people don't. Like, transitioning is not harming yourself. It's actually, trying to like make your life better and to improve your mental and physical health. It's not like cutting yourself or, damaging your body in any way. It's just like another ridiculous comparison again.
People into rehabilitation clinics.
We have don't date 4-year-old laws.
We have don't date 4-year-old laws. And they'll say, how dare you compare me to pedophiles? Well, guess what? Only 5 years ago, when gay marriage was passing, they said, how dare you compare me to trannies?
Exactly.
It's true.
The line just keeps getting moved each time, and we're like...
Did they? I don't ever recall anybody, during the sort of same-sex marriage campaign and gay marriage campaign actually saying that they didn't want to be compared to trans people. I don't recall anybody saying that, any kind of pro sort of trans, same-sex marriage campaigners saying that. So this is another lie that they're perpetuating, these people here.
Told you.
Everyone has a line. That's it. I mean, what they want to say there's no normal, and they want to guilt people. If you don't want to, at what point is it okay where you just walk right in, you see David with a penis, and I'm a bigot. Pass.
I'm out.
Just walk.
I'm okay.
Bye.
What difference does it make to you what's in somebody's knickers, I mean, like, you're not in a relationship with this woman, yet you seem to think you can start talking about what's in the knickers, and I would say that's not normal, I mean, if anything, I would have safeguarding concerns, around you.
And that's the big point, is people just own it. Where it's like, you're a racist, or you're transphobic. And people are like, no, I'm not transphobic. And you show...
No, you are transphobic. Why would you want to know what's in a trans woman's knickers to try and sort of like delegitimize her as female? If you do that, you're transphobic. End of.
Up for a blind date, and it's like, I guess I'm a little transphobic.
OUT out.
No, that's not transphobic. That's like, he's got a penis.
Didn't even change the name David.
No.
I just like, what is that? You're filling out the application there. It's like, what do you like? Yeah, okay, I like long walks on the beach, and I'm Dave, and I have a big fat.
What's funny is
Swipe left.
His name, compared to all the other alterations this young strapping young fellow's made, is the most
long.
See, they're just trying to humiliate this woman. They're misgendering her. They're sort of like having like intimate talk about her private parts. I mean, it's kind of disgusting, really. It's like, it is kind of like, in a way, it's like sexual harassment. I mean, if she were there, it would definitely be sexual harassment if she were there in the room with them. But actually, this is still sexual harassment. I mean, she could be looking at that. She probably has seen this reaction video, and it probably made her feel really kind of like disturbed and or like kind of violated in a way. I know that's how I would feel. I mean, if they were doing that to me. So yeah, it's kind of disgusting.
reasonable thing to change.
Right.
That's the most reasonable.
I think it'd be the starting point.
Yeah.
It's like the first page in a Legos instructional.
Yeah,
Go
exactly.
with like,
change
like
masculine
Kelly
name.
or Jesse or Tony with it.
It's not all that easy to change a name on a lot of documents, you know. I mean, in some parts of the world, and I mean, it is kind of, you know, in some places there may be a legal requirement to use your, you know, your name, because deed polls don't always work the same. It's not like it can be quite easy to actually change a name via a deed poll in some places, but other places it can't, you know. And also, why should somebody have to change their name? You know, I mean, so what if she wants to, you know, I mean, I know she wants to change her name later on in the video. She says that, but I mean, why, you know, why should she have to change her name if she doesn't want to change her name? What business of it is it of yours, you know?
She does want to change her name, I think. Let's go. There's another clip.
Yeah,
this was the top trend on Twitter, and that's the only. Listen, the reason we have to acknowledge it is because if you look at the Twitter trends, and I just can't. This is amazing. I think most people are faking it. I'm sorry. I think they're lying. I don't even think the most progressive of the most progressive watches this and goes, "That is passable as a woman," and she's.
She actually is. You know, if you're talking about like, I find her passable as a woman. You know, not that it's any of my business, but I wouldn't have known she was trans, you know, unless, you know, she told me. So, I mean, I don't know what he's seeing here, but I mean, I see like a young woman, and I can't see why. And like, I don't think people are faking it, because most people have a admiration for somebody who can, you know, be themselves through like adversity, you know, and they kind of a lot of people actually relate to that themselves as well. You know, it's like a lot of people kind of like see that, and they see their own struggles as well. Like they find a trans person inspiring to them, because you know, they know that if trans people can get over these hurdles, then so can they, you know, even though they're not trans. They see trans people kind of like making a life for themselves, you know, and kind of like sort of changing the kind of bad luck that they had, you know, at the start of their life, and the bullying that they went through in a lot of cases, and discrimination, and being able to turn that on their head and actually make a really good life for themselves, you know, and kind of, so people applaud that, you know, people say fair play, you know, they're trying hard to, you know, they've kind of come through a storm and they've come out the other end, and they're like a really nice person. I think in this case, the woman in the actual video, she comes across as a really nice person, you know, she really does.
She's gorgeous. I don't think anyone does it. I think it's a lie. I don't buy it. I'm sorry. I'm not ascribing motive. Maybe some people do. Gun to my head. I think most people are bullcrapping. We have another clip, right?
No, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Well, I moved to Dublin 2 years ago.
Where from?
Wexford. My family are based down there.
It's so
Would
much
you ever
worse
go
with
back?
Irish accent.
Wexford? No.
Would I go to Wexford? No. Would you go back?
I don't know.
Not now.
I mean, again, like now they're making fun of her Irish accent. I mean, it's kind of disgusting the way that they're behaving towards us. So, I mean, we already know that these sort of people, these right-wing people, are racist as well. You know, it's just pathetic.
Very well down there. I was like, I'm transitioning my gender and stuff.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah, he hadn't caught on.
well down there.
I had no
I'm
idea.
sure you can imagine. All through my life, I used to see myself as a female kind of inside my head. I presented very feminine. I used to carry hands.
Come on.
Giant ass
Just
feet.
gay. It's
really
okay.
knew
Just say
that
that.
people could transition, and I never really knew that was a viable option.
It's not.
When did
They're making fun of the way she looks, you know, and they're trying to look for something. I mean, she is a very, I think she's very attractive, you know, and I mean, but they're looking so hard to find things to sort of pull her apart with, and in this case, they're looking at her feet and they're saying, oh, she has big feet. Well, actually, no, I don't really see that she has particularly big feet, and even if she does, who cares, you know? I mean, I just think she's a really nice person, and any guy would be really lucky to have her as a partner, you know?
did you start
Unviable.
the transition?
Only 2 years ago when I first moved to Dublin.
Yeah?
Are you
gonna
gonna
take
go
a
full
while.
surgery
Still
or
carrying your given slave
leave
name.
it and
David.
No, I think I did it for full medical transition. That's all kind of down the road right now.
It looks really
last thing to
interesting.
do is kind of change the pronouns, and then the surgery will come later on. I'm doing my name change soon, probably like
Change
next
the
month.
pronouns.
What are you going to change it to?
Layla.
Layla.
In 10 years' time, I see myself quite similar to the way I am today, but physically as a woman,
What does
living
that
as a
mean?
woman,
Physically as a woman.
and maybe not having to explain so much because people
You're still gonna have to.
hopefully will be a bit
always.
more used to gender non-conformity. I suppose that's why the blind date thing was kind of a bit nerve-wracking for me because
You don't know what way it'll be kind of responded.
exactly, yeah, usually I explain the situation
You can
before I
guess.
meet someone and stuff, and you can be sure of how they're gauging it. But there was kind of
It just sickens me the way these guys are laughing at her, honestly. You know, she comes across as such a nice person, and, you know, I mean, she's not causing anybody any trouble. She's she's quiet and respectful, a little on the shy side, I'm thinking maybe, and quite reserved. But they're kind of rounding in on her, and they're just rounding in on her like a pack of vultures, and it's really disgusting.
out of my comfort zone to do this, but
Kind of in everyone's boat.
I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone as well.
Yes.
My comfort zone right now would be a 12 gauge in my head.
That's actually shocking. I mean, they're kind of sort of like inferring that she should kill herself, or somebody should, you know, enact violence upon her or murder her. That is really shocking. And like, to come back to the bit at the beginning about Crowder talking about normality and what's normal. I mean, somebody talking like they're talking is not normal, you know. I would, you know, I mean, that's a red flag if ever I saw one. You know, if I heard guys talking like that, I would get out of the way, and I would sort of tell my friends to watch out, watch them, because they seem to me like, you know, to harbour those sort of thoughts, you know. I mean, that's the last thing I thought of, like actually sort of holding a gun to somebody's head and shooting them. I mean, that is scary. It really is.
It is unreal to me. First
Oh,
off,
man.
I don't know what she means. I change the pronouns, then I'll change my name.
Yeah.
How do you change? You can't change pronouns. Pronouns is what someone else is. I got you on my knee, Layla.
He's 2 years into it and hasn't gotten any further than lipstick and long
I'm
hair.
going to transition. I began my transition. Hasn't changed her name. Hasn't changed the anatomy at all. So what does that mean? It means you started saying that you were a girl. This is let's be honest about what we see here. Okay, there is a man named Dave. Dave has a penis. Dave has no breasts. Dave put on a wig and wears a dress. Maybe he's been taken.
How do you know? I mean, like, you're saying she has no breasts, and you're kind of picking her apart the way she looks. I mean, it looks like her own hair anyway. She doesn't have a wig on, but that shouldn't make any difference to anything, you know? I mean, like, you don't know anything about this woman, you know? You're just kind of like building a picture of her, which is not necessarily kind of anything to do with actually how she is. And that becomes jarringly obvious looking at this video, that you're just like, you just intended to rip her apart anyway. You just intended to rip a trans woman apart anyway. You know, no matter how she looks or how she is, you just wanted to do that. And the trans woman you picked on happens to be like really quiet, reserved, and sort of like almost like, you know, kind of conforming to, you know, like a feminine sort of woman. And you're still not satisfied with that, you know? I mean, I'm sure, you know, if she'd been sort of like gender non-conforming in any way, you know, they would have picked on that. But they're still doing it. You know, they're still picking on her. So it just shows you, no matter how hard we try as some trans people, you know, to actually sort of like assimilate. Again, I don't think that trans people should be forced to assimilate or should feel compelled to assimilate. It's a personal decision. How you are, just be yourself, you know, because cis people never think, oh, do I assimilate into cis society? And I mean, I actually know, like, I think like cis people also think I need to be gender conforming. And I think like the pressure to be gender conforming is kind of wrong. You know, that does a lot of psychological and mental damage to people, because we're not all going to be sort of like he-men or sort of like, you know, sort of she-women or whatever. You know, I mean, it's like gender is like a spectrum, you know, and we're all individuals, and there is no such thing as normal. But hey, you know, I mean, this is all lost on them, and like ironically, by talking about, you know, setting up an idea of what's normal, I mean, kind of pulling a woman apart because of the way she looks, and sort of like laughing at her and talking about what's in her knickers and, you know, what you think's in her knickers, and actually then ending by saying that, you know, or maybe she should have like a shotgun in the back of her head. That actually makes you quite, well, I would say quite abnormal, really. You know, I mean, there's no such thing as normal, but that makes you frighteningly sort of like almost like some kind of like safeguarding risk. You know, that makes you kind of like quite dangerous, really. And I would actually, if I heard people talking like that, I think they should go and see a psychiatrist. You know, it's just really, you know, you couldn't make it up how awful these guys are, you know, how like pathetic and how much they're kind of showing themselves up here to be absolute and utter sort of, you know, well, I don't even, you know what they're like. Any reasonable person watching this video will know what these people are like, you know?
Taking some estrogen pills recently or having it directly injected into his left cheek, but it is Dave with a penis, no breasts, showing up as a pansexual blind date. Let me tell you something, Dave. You're not the victim in all of this. I want to see that man somewhere at the local pub and buy him a drink because the way he reacted to you was absolutely saintly. You're going to tell us that we're transphobic because if we...
You are transphobic. And I mean... Actually, you know, I mean, you say the way he reacted, the way the guy reacted to the trans woman was saintly. Well, what did you expect him to do? You know, beat her up? You know, you seem to think that's an acceptable way. You know, I mean, he's just like he reacted to another human being who was nice and respectful. He actually had a conversation with her rather than looking at her as like some kind of like hunk of meat, you know. And I get the impression that these guys just look. They just look at this trans woman as a hunk of meat, and they look at women in general as like meat, you know. It's just, yeah. And like also like the arrogant sort of cis privileged assumption that a trans woman is gonna want to go out with them anyway. I mean, they obviously think that they're like God's gift to women, but actually no, they're guys on like sort of like looking at their computers in a little sort of room that they call their studio, and I know they get a lot of money from the far right and like the alt-right in America to sort of like, and they fund all this rubbish, and but at the end of the day they're just guys who are in, you know, who like actually a lot of trans women wouldn't be interested in them, a lot of cis women wouldn't be interested in them, so why do they assume that they're God's gift to women? You know, I mean, like you know, it's just it just shows their arrogance and their kind of like cis male sort of like entitlement and privilege that they possibly been brought up with, you know, to think that they're going to be the you know, the be all and end all of like what's desirable, because actually they're not. You know, I mean, most trans women, you know, would they ever get a date as a trans woman? What if a trans woman turned them down? How would they react then? You know. And maybe that's what happened here. Maybe a trans woman did, you know, maybe Stephen Crowder did sort of fancy a trans woman, or any of these men, you know, in this like studio, sort of maybe they tried dating a trans woman and she dumped them, and that's now they're kind of overcompensating for that now by raging against trans women. You know, it could be, who knows, you know, I mean, they can speculate as to what's in our knickers, so maybe we can speculate as to what's in their brains, you know, or what's really in their minds. And yeah, so I think we're near the end now, but let's hear a few more words of this tripe before we we finish the video.
Show up to this, we want to say, you know what? You're a crazy person. I'm going to go take my chances at the bar with the fat chicks who have low self-esteem, so I've got a better shot. By the way, you got a...
Well, that's, again, like, that just shows their, like, arrogance towards, like, all women, really, because, I mean, now he's gone on to talking about, you know, women who are, like, a certain weight or size, you know, I mean... he's kind of talking as if they're going to want to go out with him as well, but maybe like, women won't. It's just ridiculous. It's so yeah, please tell me what you think of this video. I mean, I know it might be sort of triggering and jarring to a lot of people. I mean, it's certainly one that kind of upsets me, but I feel it kind of therapeutic to kind of like look through these videos and to kind of talk about them and sort of like dissect what they're actually really thinking, because it's like almost like turning the spotlight around from them, so like putting the spotlight on us trans women onto putting the spotlight onto the transphobes and trying to like sort of like pulling them apart for a change, but pulling them apart for very real reasons, like how they actually are as people rather than how they look. I mean, so yeah, so please do tell me what you think of this, and please do leave any feedback down below. And thank you very much for watching my video. Thank you to everybody who subscribes, and I'd just like to say I love you all, and until the next time, au revoir, bye.